Welcome to Out of the Ordinary with Jay, and I am with
Kyle.
And Kyle. We were going to talk about equanimity and discourse today.
In discourse, yes.
Okay, can you describe for me or read the definition of equanimity, just so everybody has it, including me?
All right, so I'm going to read it because I'm terrible at remembering it.
Perfect.
A state of mental stability and composure that allows a person to remain calm and open in the face of challenging and distressful situations, and particularly in how this pertains to discourse is our ability to have conversations with people on difficult topics, regardless of without getting heated, without personalizing it, without being able to have the conversation on the topic and not attacking the person.
So the idea is to stay level-headed, or the goal would be so you could even talk about things like the taboo subjects of like politics and religion.
Absolutely.
In a way that would be the goal.
And I think it's a skill that we're particularly bad at in society at the moment when it comes to politics and really most subjects that we over personalize people disagreeing.
Can I ask you a question? Do you think it is worse today, or we're paying attention to it more?
I think a little bit of both. I do think it is worse because I think that the polarization politically is getting worse, and that drags a lot of extreme views into the spotlight.
Right.
And I think that people's sense of what do they call it, like identity politics is stronger as part of a result of that. They're ingraining their identity into their beliefs more, and it's harder to create that distance between talking about the subject and talking about yourself, which I think personalizes it more.
Yeah, for me, I'm trying to decide or trying to determine if there's more of it, or if it's just more acknowledged.
Yeah.
Like as an example, like back when I was younger, pre-internet, if you had one person that had this sort of like this crazy theory, they were like, oh, Joe, he's nuts. You know what I mean? But now Joe could go online, find 200,000 people that agree with him, and have that message amplified. And so I don't know if it's just now that we know there's more Joes, or if there are in fact more Joes than there ever have been. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think that's where the combined effort of it. So extreme examples of this are cults, right? Where cults will focus on ingraining your sense of identity into the belief system that they have. Westboro Baptist Church has a lady who left them that talks about this a lot, how Twitter was a big help for her to leave.
Oh, help, right, sure. Yeah, it goes the other way too.
Had the discussions and the openness and was able to pull out some of being able to have calm discussions on the subject helped her see through what was going on. But
interesting.
The identity was so wrapped up, so tied up in it, that people attacking the belief were attacking her identity. She's talked about this in interviews some. And so I see that when the guy who before was just the outlier and in a smaller community group was just like, oh, he's got those beliefs. Now that he's got a group of people of similar mindset, he's ingraining more of his identity with that. It's more part of his community. It's no longer just him having this outside view. So aside from it amplifying what's already there, it's stronger. It's more polarized than it was before.
Right. So what do you think makes this is like if you can answer this, you win $1 million, I guess. But I mean, but what do you think makes discourse like this so challenging, so difficult?
I think the biggest thing is practice. We have the pitch for the inquiring minds for a humanist society. We do a discussion group once a month where we talk about these various different topics of all sorts, and it's good practice in having conversations that can sometimes get heated, and my role as the moderator is to help make sure that they don't get heated and that we have a good casual conversation. I've only had one issue in the time that I've been moderating that I had to regulate, but
so
I think it's practice. Practice is the thing.
Just a quick tangent. You mentioned Humanist Society and you have a role in it. What exactly is that? Can you say what is the
so Humanist Society of Greater Phoenix is an organization for humanists to meet and sort of the a secular version of the church concept to build a community around like-minded beliefs that humans have intrinsic value and our morals and ethics emerge from that intrinsic value. That's the humanist section of it. The particular group, Inquiring Minds, is a discussion group as a subset of that. Intellectual exploration is part of one of those goals of well-being and humanist values that we try to encourage and foster. And so through the discussion group, we vote on topics to discuss, and each month we get together to discuss another one of those topics in as much or as little detail as the group sees fit. We delve into those details as we go. We've talked about a wide range of things.
Well, that sounds really neat. I just want to get it out there so that, they kind of have a base of like where you might be coming from.
Yeah.
So what do you think is like how do we get better at discourse? Do you have any ideas?
I mentioned a little bit of trying to separate ideas from self, and being able to talk about the idea, really using terminology that is focusing on talking about the idea or the subject rather than personalizing it. The one example I said where I had to step in was somebody had responded to, it was a political conversation. I don't remember the exact thing that was said, but the response was, "Are you effing stupid?" And we had to pause and
good
be
time
like,
to step in.
You're no longer talking about the subject, you're attacking the person. And that's not beneficial, that's not helpful here.
No, that's never helpful.
Back. Exactly. So we want to focus on the ideas, not the people. And that goes a long way to having more effective conversation and not personalizing.
I can think of no better way to end a conversation than to utter that statement. That is a you're just done.
You put up walls right away.
That's a wall with brick and steel and all kinds of stuff. So outside of what you just mentioned, have you seen where discourse has worked or fallen up, or the other way where it's just completely fallen apart? What do we need to do here? Or it's need to be in teaching discourse in schools, or what do we what do we do?
I definitely think proper debate or logic discussions is a helpful tool for people to learn, because it helps with construction of an argument and is very focused on the subject. So it helps to create that separation of personality and ideas. So I think that in school is really powerful. Having practicing discourse in some way in schools is absolutely something I think we should be doing.
Yeah, it seems like to me, I'm just talking, but as adults, it seems this is one thing that it does seem like more than ever, at least it seems like we've graduated in the wrong way, which is it seems much more like everybody now is basically forced to pick a tribe. Not just like I'm a tribe of I'm a human, or I'm an American. It's more like this is your football team that you're with, and you're going to stick with them no matter what. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think that has ratcheted up, and not in a good way. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think that, and we're worse at communicating with each other and people, especially post-COVID. COVID had a big impact on people's ability to just basic conversation, not even the heated stuff.
Totally.
We see a more subtle example of this is the workplace, where communication can be really important between coworkers, and you're talking about the ideas and the subjects, but people can take it really personally when they hear you say, I need you to do X, Y, and Z in this way, and they hear, oh, I'm terrible at my job, or I'm a bad person because I can't do my job right. And that comes from, again, tying yourself into the role that you're in, and tying yourself into your work maybe too much, not having that separation.
I know the thing with identity, you mentioned identity politics and all these other things. The thing that gets me, I used this example in some other video, I don't remember, but what's interesting to me, I had this interview with a friend of mine, actually, and we were talking, and I was saying how it's super interesting how, like say you have I'll just use the NFL since it's the most popular sport we have. Say you have somebody that's totally into the Dallas Cowboys and somebody else that's a rival and they're totally into the Pittsburgh Steelers, right? And I basically posited to him, like, okay, So say you've got this, you love the entire Dallas Cowboys roster. You love the new quarterback that they drafted, who's been playing there and you love all the players that have been there for 5 years. You love the coach. You love everything about the organization, and you hate everything about the Pittsburgh Steelers. You can't stand the coaching staff. You think they cheat all the time. You don't like anything about them. But in some weird NFL new rule or something that happens, you have to switch entire rosters, coaching staff, all the players and everything. Which team are you for now?
Yeah.
And most of the time, people will say they're still for their team. And so then I argue and I go, so you're supporting a logo.
Yeah.
And I find that fascinating, that they could go from, I love this quarterback, he's the best ever, to the guy's a crook, he's the worst. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Just because the color changed, and it went from a star to a steel thing or whatever. That stuff blows my mind, and they feel it. They're not just pretending.
Yeah.
That is wild to me.
Yeah, and that's
50 people or 60 or
really
70 people on a team that you know every stat about them and you're totally into them, or one logo and you're going with the logo.
And it's usually like a state pride thing that's behind the support of a particular team, right? Like usually they're tying into that state pride into the team support.
Yeah, for sure. Or even handed down, from grandfather to father to son, and so it goes, that type of thing. But I just find that an interesting example, because if I really liked the way somebody conducted themselves and played the game or whatever, and they went to another team, I'd like to think I'd still be not vilify them.
Right.
But that is a weird, and you can definitely see that in politics as an example. I mean, look at, not to get political, but look at Liz Cheney, right? Mm-hmm. I cannot think of a more conservative brand than the daughter of Dick Cheney.
Yeah.
That's about as conservative as you're going to get. And then, she obviously was on the January 6th committee and all those things, and now she's vilified. Now she's in the opposite direction and no longer on the team. And that's just amazing.
Yeah.
Anyways, do you have any other comments that you'd like to make about equanimity and what we were talking about there?
Just like from my personal experience, like I did a lot of discussions with religious people growing up from a very early age, like early middle school, and just be downtown talking to the street corner preachers.
Okay.
And I was never a believer myself, but I always enjoyed those conversations, and I was always able to have them with that separation that I mentioned. So it was always a good conversation with them, and we never got aggressive with each other.
Yeah, more curious than adversarial.
Yeah.
I like that.
I personally, thankfully, always had a track record of that experience and that practice, and that's helped make me the person that I am and given me that interest in this subject. So.
Gotcha. Well, I'm going to summarize my version of that as just be nice.
Yeah.
is what I think. So thank you, Kyle. I really appreciate your time.
Don't be I guess I probably shouldn't swear.
Yeah, don't be that. Don't be what he's thinking. Thanks.